Hello and welcome, I'm Kayla Scrivener, and today I'm going to be bringing my Victober TBR, and I'm so excited to be doing this. If you're not familiar with what Victober is, it is a month-long readathon that happens in October, and it focuses on Victorian literature. Victorian literature is the stuff that is written during the reign of Queen Victoria, which I believe is from 1839 to 1903, don't quote me though, and it's just focused on literature that happens in the UK, which is a genre that and age time that I just haven't read a lot of. I read classics, I adore classics, I've read a lot in this time period, just not a lot that happens in the UK. And there are some very humongous milestone authors that I just haven't read a lot of their works or any of their works, and it's embarrassing. So as a person who loves literature and classic literature, I need to redeem myself, and this is it. And I get to do a readathon and have fun, and I'm so excited to be doing this. So to jump right in, there are prompts. One of them is to read a book by candlelight, which is my heart. I love it. There'll be candles out. I won't be concluding all of them just because I really want to read a lot of the books on my physical TBR. And there are some, like for instance, there's one to read a book that takes place during or is published during the same time as your favorite book from the Victorian era. And I haven't read a lot to say that I have one. I probably Elizabeth and Her German Garden by Elizabeth von Ernham, or The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is probably up there for my favorite books, but there isn't books that I primarily really want to read off that year, and I just want to kind of take some of the landmarked in one. So I'm not going to be out of the box. I'm just going to read the really typical books, and hopefully you are enjoying that. If you want to buddy read or do anything like this, or you're joining, let me know what your TBR is. I would love to hear that. So the first book is to read a book by a female author, and this is great because I got some on it, and this is The Tenant of Wildfell Hill by Anne Bronte. Anne Bronte, or just the Bronte sisters in general, I haven't read any of their works, despite owning them and wanting to read them for a very long time. So this is embarrassing. I know that this deals with a woman who runs away from her abusive husband, I believe, and it follows her life and the scandal that follows and the trauma, I believe. That is basically what I know. It is something that was not talked about at the time and is not even talked about enough now. So I'm very excited. I read the beginning of it and it is very good, and it's been like 2 years, so I really need to just pick it up and enjoy it and think about it deeply. And then also we're going to continue on the Bronte train for a book that is over 500 pages. This copy is not over 500 pages, but most of them are, and this is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is one of the landmark books of this era, and I haven't read it. And I think I will really like it. I think that I am more a Jane Eyre person than a Wuthering Heights person. I know that it's very divisive. I've read the beginning of Wuthering Heights. I've not read the beginning of this, but I just think that based on who I am as a person, I will like this story better, and I know the story. I'm very excited. I think that I will mark it up a lot. I will write on it a lot, and I really hope I'm going to be vlogging and hopefully capturing all of these emotions off these beautiful, beautiful books. And then we have read a book under 200. There are some, if I do end up rereading a book that is my favorite, which I already mentioned 2 of them, they're both under 200 pages, but I also have A Sign of 4 by Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes' second book. He's, I think, thought of more as Edwardian, but I really, really love his books, and this was published in 1890, so very firmly in the Victorian era, and I am very excited to read this and see what more we have this, because Sherlock Holmes is classic, and I want to read his works. I also have been in a mood for more mystery stuff, and I wanted to do Agatha Christie. Obviously, she's not in this era, so I'm going to be doing that in November, but I'm just very excited. And then I also have Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I also think I'm going to be reading both of them, but the first one is just under 200 pages. I'm going to be buddy reading this with Wolfie, and yeah, we were supposed to do this last fall and never did it. So I'm very excited to be doing it. They are amazing. I will link their channel below, but have you had like classic books that are children's books that you should have read? Probably. This is mine. It's very embarrassing. I know the story, kind of, not really, like mostly adaptations, which I've not even watched the like classic Disney one. I have watched like Once Upon a Time in Wonderland is probably the majority of my knowledge about this. And The Heartless. I researched a lot when I read Heartless. Maybe I should do that back to back. Anyways, that is Alice in Wonderland. And then I'm very, very excited. I've been wanting to do this like my entire life. I have started and failed so many times, and I'm believing that this is going to be successful. So I am friends, and I actually live in the same city with Christine from the other Christine That Reads, and we started a book club, and I can't wait, with real life people that I get to discuss with. And We are reading A Tale of Two Cities for the first month, and this is by Charles Dickens. I've only ever read A Christmas Tale in completion, and I've read the beginning of this book so many times just because it's so lovely and well written, and it looks at the French Revolution, which is one of my favorite times and periods, and it's just, I can't wait. And it's a time when I'm very knowledgeable about, so it looks at the differences between France and Paris and London and England, and I think that it's a tragic book, so I just love tragedy, and I really need to read some Dickens in my life because I feel like I'll really like his work. And then last but not least, and especially since it is October and kind of more spooky and I'd be wanting to read more horror-esque, but like not so terrifying horror-esque, as well as just, you know, those creepy books. And we got Dracula by Bram Stoker, and I believe he's Irish? He's Irish, right? So getting more diversification in here. So diverse. When you're reading Victorian literature, there's not much there. But I know that this is very, very different from the adaptations that has happened, and I'm very interested into seeing how vampires are portrayed in here. I feel like I've heard the story mostly, but I feel like it'll be fun to just mark up and read and all of that wonderfulness. So let me know if you're reading any of these books, what you're reading, what books you would read if you were going in. I can just say a million things and just tell me your thoughts because I like hearing your thoughts and interacting with people. It is the best thing. Happy reading and writing and creating, and I will see you very, very soon in a new video.